anyone else can jump in.
Who are you talking to?
How's the week been?
Good.
No, who wants to talk first?
Oh, you go, Erin.
Yeah,
I'm still mixing here.
this is good. It's good. It's very hands-on, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I've had a good week, busy couple of weeks at work, which was a bit unexpected. So I must tell you, Shani, I'm a bit behind, but I thought I'd join anyway, and I'm sure I can sort of catch up. And I read through all the modules. I'm a bit late with my exercises, but that's okay. I got a good session in this afternoon.
Oh, great. Well, look, take your time. You know, it's supposed to build upon each week. So you can read the theory, but then once you do the exercises, it will probably be, be more familiar, what you did last week. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So who wants to start first with any questions?
Okay, I'm just going to say it. I still don't know how to tell what's warm and what's cool.
Oh, okay. No, absolutely.
I understand the theory of it.
Yes.
And when I mix something, what happens, I can be like, okay, that's why it's happening.
Yeah.
But I can't look at a yellow and be like, that's a cool yellow or that's a warm yellow. I can't. I'd be lying if I said I could.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
I don't know how you tell by just looking at it.
When I started painting and when I did night classes at Julian Ashton, they never talked about warm and cool in that night session. You just went in and they told you just paint this, whatever it is, still life, a cast, and we didn't even talk about it. And then years later, I started doing another course and the lady was just talking about warm and cool. And I was going, oh no, I have no idea. So I totally feel your frustration because I think that this is the key to me to know exactly what you're going to get. Don't beat yourself up that you can't get it.
But I don't know, how do you look at this and say that this is a warm red or a cool red? Like how do you know if it leans towards blue or leans towards yellow?
Yeah, that is really tricky. And a lot of the times a color won't lean to one or the other until it's put in reference to something else. There's some colors that are obvious, like cadmium yellow or cadmium red, really warm. You can see that the yellow, do you have a lemon yellow and for example, in your
I've got a Hensa yellow, which is like a lemon yellow.
Hensa is, what would you say that is?
A cool yellow.
Yes, exactly.
I just look at it and think it's really, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think that though.
Well,
yes, very hard to identify, isn't it?
Yes.
Like I'd be like, okay, let me just mix it with a blue and see what happens. And then it's like, oh, that's a really cool green. Or, oh, that's not the green I wanted.
Yeah.
And then I pick something else. But I can't be like, that's because this is cool or this is, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. So I think that one thing is to mix it with, you can try mixing your primaries. So you just grab that one. You think, oh, hold on, I think this Hansa is actually cool. Well, mix it with a cool blue and with a warm blue and see what difference you get. Do you get a really bright green or do you get a dull green? So if you get a really bright green with your cool blue, you can assume that that yellow is a cool yellow. If you get a really, not a muddy, but, like a more earthy green mixed with a cool blue, then you'll think this yellow would have to be a bit warm. It'll have to be a little bit of red in it. Not red in it, but just leaning towards the reds. And therefore, when you mix it with a oh now I'm forgetting what I just said, but when you get an earthy green, then you'll see, oh no, this must be then a warmer yellow because it's not giving me a bright green. That is one way to see it. The other way was if you can get all the yellows that you have and just put them all next to each other and do a little swatch of each, and then mix each swatch with a bit of white. I don't know if I can show you. Heather sent me some of her exercises.
Yeah, I did that with the first part of the exercise. And then what do you notice when you mix it with the white?
Yeah, hold on. I'll see if I can show you what Heather sent me. I hope she's okay with that. But
some of the greens that I got, I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to be, like, I mixed this Whitsundays blue with a Hensa yellow, and that's this one. I don't know if you can see. And look how green it is. Like, it's a really bright green. And I didn't think that that would give me a really bright green.
Which one was it? Sorry?
I don't even know. That one.
A Hensa with is that a cerulean blue? What blue is it?
What, Whitsundays blue? I think they just make them up.
Oh, yeah, probably. Is it acrylic? Or
yeah, it is an acrylic, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you get that bright green, you'll have to be leaning somehow to green. So
yeah,
it's you can try that same mix with a different yellow and see what do you get.
I did. It looks like mud. So just next to it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. See, you can see.
That's the joke.
So can you see both yellows? Can you tell the difference when they're both on the swatch? Yes, exactly. Like I can see it from here, but yeah, that
like
one.
Dark. So I would say that one is more red.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. So compared with each other, yeah, it's warmer, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is warmer. There you go.
Yeah. So maybe a good trick for you, and this is what I also had to do a lot when I was starting and had all those doubts about, hold on, what's this tube? Everyone's saying that ultramarine blue is warm, but to me it's cool. It doesn't look warm. And then until I mixed it with something that I thought, yeah, they're right. Now I can see why it's warm, because I cannot, I can't mix a bright green with it. Right? You know what I would like you to do? Can you show it to me again? Like,
it's a bit of a mess. I sort of took the exercise.
It's really good. Okay. What I would like you to do, because you have a lot of two of the same color mixed with different things. So
yes. I just kept mixing.
Well, because that's excellent. I mean, you'll be able to more or less tell on one side, like for example, look at down the bottom. I can't really tell you if the red is warm or not, but I think I can more or less tell you. See that one? Is it ultramarine blue and what is it? Naphthol red.
That's a summer night. That wasn't a very good one. It's a transparent one, but this is the ultramarine blue. Hang on. Oh no, on a different page. That's ultramarine blue and naphthol red. Makes like a mud.
Makes like a mud. So what would you say the red is? Because you sort of know that to make mud.
Yellow. No. Yes.
Yeah. I mean the blue as well. You just you have to keep testing until you sort of think, okay, is it the red or is it the blue? So
I was going to say, and then when you do it, how are you supposed to know if it's the red or the blue? So if I mix ultramarine blue with the naphthol red, and it turns to mud, one of them has to have yellow.
Well, if you're not sure which one of the two is giving you mud, then what you can do is grab both, and if it is a warm red and I mix it with a warm yellow, now you know which one is warm with those two that you compared. You're going to get a really nice orange. So
that's my naphthol red.
Yes. Okay.
With the yellow. And then I did underneath with my egg yolk. And I think the egg yolk, which is a warmer yellow, is a nicer orange.
It is. It still looks a little bit like corally. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look orange.
It looks more apricot.
Yeah, like a peachy sort of thing. So because I think natural red tends to, well, it looks like
Those are the only
reds that you
yeah,
have.
but when I did I did the magenta and they just aren't as nice
Yeah.
with the yellow.
Yeah, the magenta and the yellow is not going to give you, because the magenta has some purple in it. So they're going to, remember we talked about the complementaries, they're going to neutralize each other.
Yes, yes. Yep.
So if you have, show me what reds you have.
I don't see, I bought all my stuff before this, otherwise I would have just bought primaries, but I've got these two.
Okay.
I do have oils. I'm new to acrylic. I was just trying acrylic, but I do have some oil paints too that I could get out.
If you may not even, do you really want to have like a really bright orange? Is that something that you would use on your paintings?
I don't
Don't
know.
know.
I've just started painting again and I'm just
Oh, okay. If you did, well, now
Mm.
you can, you know that a cadmium red is sort of like the brightest red that will give the warmest red that will give you a nice, beautiful orange. So one thing you can do is when, I don't know if you have an art shop near you, but
yeah,
you can,
actually.
yeah. Well, if you want to send me, I mean, it's really hard for me to tell you what color to buy because I don't know where your paintings lean towards, but you definitely have a warm yellow. That yellow
Yeah.
is warm. What's the name of it?
This one, the egg yolk, that one's called.
Egg yolk. Well, that sounds like it should have a lot of, like, it looks really warm. So I think like even in Art Spectrum, because cadmium paints are really expensive, but Art Spectrum has, I think it's Spectrum Red. I'll have a look and I'll let you know. And that's, I think, a series 1. And they might have it as well for acrylics. And that can help you mix a bright orange. I have a feeling that it could be good to try with a new red. So I can give you a list of reds.
I'm happy to buy like more, like I should have, yeah, when I bought stuff, I was just like, I'm just going to buy some colors and just put some paint on some canvas and see what happens.
Yeah.
And now that I know a bit more, like that I'm remembering and learning more about color mixing, I was just like, why didn't I just buy the primaries? Like, why did I buy green? Why did I buy pink? I don't know.
When you do your color charts, yeah.
Some primaries and
You
some
did
white.
that too, right?
Maybe some black, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do the same, Erin?
That's confusing. I've just got so many different paint colors because I thought all this time when I've just played around with painting and I go to the art shop and I think, oh, these are nice, you know, a different blue or a different green. But I'm not understanding how that green, what combination is made to get that green or anything. And I think that it just makes it more complex. And if you bring it back to the primaries and understand that mixing, that seems a bit easier than adding all these other random colors in.
I recently did a course with Zoe Young. She's been a finalist at the Archibald and whatever. And she said to us, I now paint with just, 8 to 10 colors. She says, I have 2 of each because I was getting so she's a finalist at the Archibald. And she was saying, I get so overwhelmed with color that I just narrow it down. And now I mix everything out of the 8 or 10 or 6 colors that I use. And I agree, because it does get really daunting. But I don't think you should feel bad that you have so many colors. I mean, I have a lot too. That I did exactly the same. You just keep buying because they look so pretty. And then you put them there. Oh, how do I do this?
You're like, oh, look at my collection.
So if you do narrow it down to your primaries, then once you start understanding how they mix and which ones of your primaries will get you mud, even though, probably, I don't know if I like the term mud, but it's very clear. Or if it gives you a vibrant, bright color, then you can, once you have that knowledge sunk in, you can start adding these other colors that you have. And see, oh, now what would happen if I add this with that and this with that? But you know at least that your pre-mixed tube will be a mix of something, unless it's a red, a blue, or a yellow. And even some yellows, some blues, and some reds will have something else, because they're not just made of single pigment. They could be made of more pigments, and they might have added like a violet pigment or I don't know what, but you know, things that are found in nature. So therefore, I think if you restrict it and you understand what happens when you start mixing the very limited palette and the range of colors that you can get, which is incredible, then with time, you will have confidence to say, okay, I can add these other tubes that I have, or these other, if you're a watercolor artist, you know, other pans, and start doing that. But I totally understand where you're at, because I was the same. I don't know, was I clear enough in the messaging when I was trying to, you know, give the theory of it, or do you still find that a little bit confusing?
Between warm and cool.
Yeah, like all the, you know.
No, I found that very easy to follow, and I understand that very well. It's the practical side of it, like looking at something and being like, is this warm or cool?
Yes.
That's where I'm struggling.
Yes.
And when you said to mix it, because then I'm just like, I'm just going to mix and see what happens. And that's pretty much what you're saying, is that you just got to mix and then work it out from there.
Yes. And to
which makes
some people can
remember what's happening. Try to remember every color that you're mixing with and what happens and what it is a challenge. Like writing it down and then referring to it.
Yes.
Is probably the way I could do it, because I will not remember.
Oh, you will not remember. I tell you, like I could have painted done a painting last week and I used different colors to what I usually use. And then this week I'll think, oh my gosh, what did I use? And at the time I'm so sure that I will remember. And then it's like, was that the yellow that I used? And I have to try to work it out from the dry palette to see, oh no, okay, I mixed that and I mixed that. You will forget. You definitely will, especially when you have many colors. So I think, yes, if you can do the exercises and really, really get into the habit of writing down each color, then when you go back, you will have, like, you know, like in those charts, you have the warm and then you have the cool, and you can see it more clearly. You will be able to see it more clearly over time, but at least now you need sort of that reference of color with name. So everything has to be pretty much labeled. Yes. But so Erin, did you do those exercises? Oh no, you haven't got that far, have you?
Got to module 3, no, sorry. So
okay,
I'm still a bit behind. I've read through, and I could confidently say that I would feel exactly the same as Erica in looking at, say, the warm versus cool color chart and all the swatches.
Yes.
I think, well, if they're towards, you know, one end, sure.
Yeah.
But all those ones in the middle, I just think I could not say which is warm and which is cool. Have to probably do what you said and go through and practice, work out what's happening when I'm mixing it and go, okay, well,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
If it does it, then it's a cool, and yeah.
Oh, and sometimes it's so subtle. Like all these differences are really, really subtle. So you're doing your charts and you won't see it, and you think, oh, but what is it? Does it have more yellow, or is it really, like some, like you're saying, are really obvious. A pink will be very pink, but then you have a peachy, and then you have an orange. And you start thinking, oh, is the peach actually cool or is it warm? Well, it's probably in between. You know, it's not an orange, which would be your warmest that you can get, but it's not your pink, which is your coolest. So it's a thing that needs to be practiced a lot, to be fully grasped. So to both of you, don't feel bad that you're not getting it, because it did happen to me for a long time that I wasn't getting it. But then over time and in practice, in, you know, mixing my paints and making mistakes and doing it all over again and doing my own charts, then I realized that this is, until you start mixing your paints and you compare them with each other, it will be very hard to grab a tube and say, oh, this is warm or this is cool. Some things you know, because they are generally known, that an ultramarine is warm and a cadmium red is warm, or a permanent rose is cool. Well, that one, it's a little bit tricky, but say like an alizarin, it's cool red. So you know those things, and if you buy a paint as well and you're unsure, like I've always asked at my local shop, can you help me? And they usually really know, so you don't end up buying something that you're not going to use, or you're going to think, oh, this is wrong. At the same time, they will have a chart with the swatches, and you can always compare colors. I think Derivan does it, Winsor and Newton. Even online, you can go and just check, okay, what is Winsor and Newton's full chart of colors? And sometimes they might say this is warm and this is cool. I don't know if always, but that is something as well to think before you buy paint. And if you want to mix a bright orange and you go to the shop, you just can check, oh, I wonder if this is cool or is this going to be warm? And it's going to be give me my brightest orange. So that's something that can be done. But I think that for you to fully understand it, is just do as much as you can. Like grab your papers, your notepad, and just go for it. You know, mix every single combination that you think possible and compare them to each other. And you might go, oh, still soon. Inevitably, you will see it. You know, it may not be in a couple of days. It will happen, but it's a build up. It just requires all that work and looking at colors. And I think that it's just that practice that will get you to understand where the color leans, what a color leans towards. So yes, but look, I'm super happy to check your charts. So please send them through, because then you can say, well, I'm not sure, is this cool or is this warm? And I might ask you a question. Well, what do you think? Do you think that this color is as bright as this? And then you might think, oh no, it is brighter, so it has to be made of these two at least. And that will help, you know, answer those questions, and maybe having like, oh, light bulb moment to say, oh, yeah, now I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. It would be nice to be able to look at an artwork or a painting and go very easily say, yep, okay, I can see that that's a cool color and a warm color, and look at composition. Yeah. There's no way to do that now. So yeah, I will just keep doing the exercises to get the practice. Yeah,
you can start. I mean, start with the yellow. Probably is an easier one to see. Well, is it actually the paintings that I have behind me are probably good. Like this is a really warm yellow. I use a warm yellow, and then as you mix it with white, it will get cooler. But that it's warm. You can see that it's not a I'm trying to see what I have here. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but that's my exercise. But see how it's not like sort of that. See how different that sort of is? Even from the distance, you can see that it leans more toward that. So have that point of comparison, and just think, well, warm like the sun, fire. You know, the red in the fire is sort of very orangey. It's not unless like it's a gas or something, this is blue, but really, really that deep red. So, and the same with sun and the sunset. And then when you think of cool, lemons, these are warm lemons, but that's because I like to paint them warm. But a lot of the times, actually, lemons are warm. But the ones that you buy from the grocery are they're not, they're like a greenish, not green, but you know what I mean? So start looking at those things, even around you at the grocery store, to say, oh, these strawberries, are strawberries warm compared to raspberries? Yeah. What would you say? The red in a strawberry compared to raspberry, for example.
I'd say it's warm.
Yes.
Depends on, I don't know, it just seems more deep.
Yeah. So when you think of both, you think the raspberries are more pink, aren't they? They're like a fuchsia, like a hot pink. And then a strawberry, I mean, it depends again where you get them, but strawberries tend to have that luscious sort of really
just really deep red.
Yeah, like an orangey red. It's sort of it doesn't lean so much to pink. It leans more like to a yellowy orange. I mean, and again, it depends, but I've seen all raspberries that I've seen are quite cool and more pink. So yeah.
Does
that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I don't know.
That
compare a banana with a lemon.
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store.
To do it in everyday life. I'll just have to get my chart out at the same time and go, right, what's the reference here in the supermarket?
Sort of to pay attention, like start noticing those things around you. Really, next time you're at the supermarket, I'd love for you to do this and go and look at a capsicum, like a red capsicum and a tomato. See, what do you think? You put them next to each other and see.
A red capsicum would be warm and a tomato would be cooler.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I feel the same. But they're both warm, aren't they? Because the tomato is warm as well, but yet the capsicum is warmer. And the same with, I don't know, let's say green capsicum and I don't know what I can think of now. But
a lime.
Maybe a lime. What did you say?
A lime.
Yeah, exactly. So which one would be warmer?
Warmer. What do you reckon, Erin? I'm going to say the green capsicum.
Well, the capsicum it's more dull, isn't it? Like it's a duller green.
Yeah.
Well, I actually would say the capsicum is probably warmer, but then again, it depends on what limes you get. The limes that I get here are sort of, they're more bluish. So it really depends. And all the capsicums that I get here are really sort of yellowy, like really like bright. So, and you don't have to be right or wrong. All you will notice is that when you know where your color leans to, is what you're going to be able to mix it with to get that color that you want. So if you want your bright oranges, you will have to have a warm red and a warm yellow. Otherwise, you won't get a nice bright orange. And the same with the green and the same with the purple. Purple is probably the worst because unless you have a cool red and a warm blue, it's going to mix mud. And next week when we do again, like the exercise with the blocks, you're going to realize it. You're going to get warm. Like remember when you did your color chart, your color wheel, Erica, and you were saying, I mix this and I'm getting brown.
Yeah.
But now you know why you're getting brown because you had a warm red that has to be leaning towards yellow, and your warm blue obviously has a little bit of red. So you have the blue, the yellow, and the red. Well, they're going to make black eventually. So you have that warmth. So if you don't have that yellowish tendency in your colors, you will get your purple. But if it leans towards the yellow, your purple will be quite dull and it could be quite brown.
So my ultramarine blue and my naphthol red, when I mix them, they make brown, not purple.
Okay, well, so your naphthol red, then it has to be warm. But it
I was
may
going to say,
be,
so the naphthol red has to have a bit of yellow. Is that what?
it has to have a bit of yellow. But then when you mix your naphthol red with the yellows, you're still getting a little bit of a different, you're not getting a bright,
Not a bright orange.
you're not getting it bright. Yeah, that's right. So I'm just looking. So for example, my permanent rose.
The-
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
Permanent rose is cool. But still when I mix it with the ultramarine blue, it doesn't give me the brightest purple. There's a purple tendency in there. It leans towards the browns, but I notice that compared to quinacridone, it's way warm, super warm. So if I mix it with a warm yellow, I will get a little bit of a bright orange. Not as bright as I would with a cadmium, but or spectrum red or whatever.
So I did this, the quinacridone magenta is my second red, and it makes a really nice purple with this blue, I think.
So that one.
But when I use that to make an orange, it's very meh.
Which one? So is that the pure color? Oh yeah, that one. Oh. Yes.
I don't know. It's hard to see. So that's the quinacridone, whatever it's called, magenta.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's the yellows, and that's the orange that it makes, and they're very meh.
And why do you think that it's doing that?
Because it must have some blue in it.
Exactly.
Like my sleeve.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now you know it
That
has
means it's a cool. That means it's a cool red.
Yes.
Because I look at that and I'll be like, oh yeah, that makes me feel warm. Makes me feel warm, so it has to be a warm red, but it's not. It's a blue red.
And when you put it against your other two, your other red, can you tell now the difference between the two? Do you still feel that that is warmer? I mean, it's darker, so maybe you feel because it's darker, therefore it must, it's
Rose must be dull
or something, but not necessarily. Erin, how do you feel about all of that? Does it sort of?
Yes, that all makes sense, and I think it's I think for me and probably for everyone, it's just that practice and mixing and getting familiar with the different colors.
Yeah.
That's how I think I'm going to grasp it, really.
Yes.
But I'm very excited just to keep a small number of paints to work with and sort of seeing all the different colors that I can mix.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you have like a color that you like, I've been thinking, like, if I have a green that I like, I'm like, let's try and mix it instead. Like, and then you have green there, and then you can like color match it.
Yes.
I need more primaries, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I've got a good collection of blues, but I need some more red, some more yellow. I think.
Look, and as you have two of. So if you hopefully have two of each, and what we say, like a warm and a cool, at least with what you have, you know that your naphthol red is going to give you your closest to orange, and your magenta will give you your closest to purple. So in that sense, you know that with what you have, you can mix a type of orange and you can mix a purple. And then with your blues, if you have a warm blue, like you do, well, you're going to mix your purple. And if you have a a cooler blue, like you do, you are able to mix your bright greens. So they don't have to look like, you know, like the ones that I have. I can get this because of the paints that I have. But if I didn't have these paints, my chart would look different. And it doesn't mean that, oh, mine are right and yours are wrong. This is the whole thing. They are unique to everyone. I like to work with these colors, but I also like to experiment and bring new colors in. And I might mix an orange that looks more like a peachy or an apricot, and think that's okay. That's an orange. It doesn't have to be bright all the time. So work with what you have and get really, really familiar with those colors. And then you can make a decision next time you buy a color and you buy a red or a yellow and think, no, actually, I really want to mix a different orange. Then you can go and buy those. But at least you know what you have already, and you may not necessarily think, well, actually, I do want to do something different. I'm just happy with the colors that I'm getting now. And you can absolutely have a painting with that. You know, you can paint so many florals and fruit. You know, you can look at a whole heap of artists that, you know, is an orange always orange? Not really, you know. So just look at that. So,
when you look at blues, are they the hardest to tell whether they're warm or cool?
yes, they're not very warm, not very many warm blues, and one is ultramarine. There's another one that is like an ink something, I don't know exactly. Cobalt blue is sort of can lean towards the warm, but it's more like a primary, like a true primary. But then pretty much everything else is cool, as far as I know. So ultramarine will be your warm blue. You're going to mix your really beautiful purples with ultramarine.
I was going to say, so that's for purple, yeah.
And then for green, it's the other one, that other blue that you had, that you showed. I can't remember the name. Was it like a...
Oh, with Sundays. It's really light. It made a really nice green. It was like fluoro green. But I think that also comes down to the... Oh, no, it's opaque. I thought it was transparent.
Oh. Well, but even
it made like a
blue
green.
quite light, isn't it? So have that one as your light one. I mean, you can add...
That's the green it made.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Well, I love that green. But you know what you could do as well? If you can get that green and if you think, oh, this is really too light for me, just add a bit of ultramarine. It will dull it because it's a warm blue and it leans towards red. So when you add red to the green, you're going to be mixing the complementaries and they're going to neutralize each other. But it will make it a bit darker without adding black, because the black will sort of really make it a very different thing. It's not just going to darken, it's going to make it really quite dull, almost like olivey, which is beautiful, but it may not be what you want. So add a little bit more of the ultramarine, but just tiny little bits, and see, oh, is this now actually making it dull, too dull, or can I keep adding a little bit more? And you might get a mix that you think, oh, wow, I actually love these colors. Nothing saying don't mix 3 colors. It's just so you know that when you do, what your end color will most likely be.
Yep, that makes sense.
Erin, what do you...
Makes sense. And I was just thinking when you were talking then how many colors you can actually create. Don't think about that, just sort of go, okay, let's create 3.
Yes. Well, I think that starting with a really small selection, if you can just start with 2, do you have 2 of each? 2 yellow, 2 red, 2 blues?
Yes, I do. I haven't gone out and bought anything new yet, so it's just what I've got stockpiled from, you know, the past few years. Yes, but I do have 2 of each.
Do you have even more than 2?
Probably, yeah. I probably do. It's a bit of
Yeah.
a combination, and some are cheap paints, honestly, and then some I've sort of spent a bit of money on. But
Yeah. Well, you
yes,
will
I've
see.
got enough to mix and to really see the
Yeah.
differences.
Yeah. And you
But
will see,
yeah,
sorry, with the quality of the paints, you will see as well how vibrant they are or not. You might mix an ultramarine from a, you know, like a lesser brand, like a kids ultramarine, like whatever, and then a professional artist, and you will notice the difference. You know, obviously the binders, the pigment, well, the pigment will be, you know, expensive pigment compared to, you know, maybe synthetic, whatever that
yes,
is. So that is a fair point as well, to start noticing, you know, when I had these out.
yes. I think some of the little acrylic tubes that I did pull in this afternoon, just as like an additional color to work with,
Yeah.
was one of those Reeves pack, those cheap Reeves kids paints. I thought
Oh,
I'll just
yeah.
go Nash and have a look at that. But
Yeah.
of course, it would be, there'd be big differences.
Yeah.
I've got some bills as well, but I've sort of parked that just for now in terms of the practicality of doing these exercises.
Yeah.
Just using acrylic is sort of much more practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do it that way. How did you go with the color wheels?
Yes, quite good. I can show you. My light's not very good though.
Oh no, that's amazing. Oh, yeah, look at that one with yeah, okay. So your yellows are quite cool, except for the one at the top. Is that right?
Yes, so yes, what did I use? Lemon yellow, a medium yellow, and yellow ochre. So the yellow ochre, crimson red, that was nice. That's this one here.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And so like it's really, where is it? Blue Lake. That's really pretty. But then you can see how you're not going to get bright there.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a beautiful palette, and you can see, well, what can I use it in? You know, you might love to have a painting like that. But can I see your chart again? I just wanted to see one of the yellows. So that one at the top, I mean, it's still medium yellow. I mean, it's definitely warmer than the lemon down the bottom, but it could look a little bit.
My light is
it's definitely warmer. So use that as your warm yellow. Do you have another yellow as well?
I would have. I just couldn't tell you what it is.
Okay.
But I would
have a swatch and see if you can get a yellow that is in between that one at the top and your ochre. Not dark like the ochre, but I'm trying to think.
So what it like a cad yellow or
yeah, something sort of you know, probably something like that. Maybe not quite, you know, the cad yellow is sort of quite orangey, but it's still yellow. But see if you have one of those. If you don't, well, use that as your warm yellow, the one that you have, because that, you can see that is warmer definitely than the one underneath. And then with the reds, what do you have in the reds?
Brilliant red, crimson red, and just a mid red. So, and this is a combination of half decent paints and then some cheap paints. So,
okay.
Difference in the
you can see the difference. So, can I see it again? So do you know out of those which one is your warm and which one is your cool?
Probably not.
No. Okay. Well, let's do that now then. So, have you tried to mix purples or not quite? No, you're not quite there, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
But in the wheel, I can't really quite see it. But can you get purple in any of those? When you mix your blue and in that wheel, did you get purple?
Yeah, I did. Very dark. I'm just trying to see.
In which one? In the top one?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So that could be your warmer blue. That does look like a warm blue. And then, is that ultramarine? Oh, yeah, it is ultramarine.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes.
brilliant red. I don't know what brilliant red is, but okay, so that's warm. And what's underneath? Phthalo, okay,
So that's the level.
yes, phthalo, and that will give you brown, so you're not going to be able to get a purple. So okay,
Yes.
so
Almost that black, really.
yes, so your ultramarine will be your warm blue.
Yes.
Your medium red will be your warm red. Then,
Yep, okay.
Sorry, probably your warm cool red. Your phthalo blue is your cool blue.
Yes.
And what other red do you have? Did you say?
So I would say that is that a cool red?
Yeah, yes, it can be. So,
See,
and what did you mix? Yeah, I think that one, it's probably the medium red. It could be in between, but it looks a little bit warm. I think crimson. I'm pretty sure that crimson would be cool. Just have a quick look.
it does look quite a bit small.
I think I don't have crimsons in my thing, but I'm pretty sure crimson, from what I've seen, I think Heather had some, and
Yeah,
her crimsons were her cool ones.
Yeah, a deep cool red is what I think it's described as.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Very.
Naphthol crimson. Oh no, actually, is it naphthol or is it? Hers is warmer than, I mean, it's still coolish, but it's warmer than, you know, obviously a magenta, but the magenta tends to be, let's see. Okay, here. Yes, it is. Yeah, look, it does lean towards the cool, but from what I see in yours, it looks way lighter than the one that she has, and it looks a bit warmer than the one that she has. So I'm not too sure. I mean, it can be the computer as well. It's just hard to see.
Could be the difference in paints.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And that's a really good question. Each brand will have something different. Like I can buy a burnt sienna from one, and then the other will be, you know, slightly different or thicker. The consistency as well, and some of the paints is different. So you know, I buy certain colors from Gamblin, certain from Winsor and Newton that I like, and certain from our Spectrum. And I very, very rarely would deviate and buy those colors from a different brand, because either the pigment is slightly different. Actually, this is a very fair point. I bought cadmium reds from Gamblin, and it was cool. It was a cadmium red, but compared to the cadmium red from Art Spectrum, it's way cooler, even though it's still warm. And then when I got the cadmium red light, then you can tell it's lighter than the cadmium red from Art Spectrum, but you know, it's not cooler like the other cadmium red from the same brand. So they all, I find that, Art Spectrum have really beautiful, consistent pigments in that, but then there's some colors that I prefer the way someone else does it. But for those colors, I'd love to. I just find the difference.
Yeah, so it should, when we're doing the exercises, it would be wise to try to get that consistency so that we're not throwing anything in that we're not understanding what's happening. Yeah.
Well, when you do your exercises and you go to module 3 and you start to get your cools and your warms, do it based on the colors that you have in your color wheel and that you've been using to get your blacks and, you know, consistently. When you've done your charts with those colors, by all means, grab another piece of paper and use your other colors and just see, well, now that I know that I get this with these colors that I've been using, I wonder what can I get with these new colors that I'm just adding in. I think, yeah, definitely experiment, but it's a good idea to just stick to those from the color wheel. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think eventually it will help to understand, you know, this one's warm, this one's cool. And if you don't know, please ask me. You know, just say, please ask me, you know, send me any questions that you have, because that's what I'm here for. I don't want you to get to, you know, the next module and be completely lost. Like you were saying, Erica, I just look at this and I can't tell. It's this, well, just ask me. And, you know, I might just say, go and have a look and compare it to the other one, or tell me everything you have, send me a photo. And I just say, okay, how about this and this and that? That's another thing. If you want to, if you're in shore and you want to take a photo of your tubes with, you know, if it was watercolor pens, it would be harder to see. But with tubes, yes, I can try to help you, definitely. Yeah.
I've got a big blank wall that hasn't got a painting or an artwork. I thought maybe I'll just use a big blank wall and start writing them all on there. So just refer to it. Every single tube of paint that exists, and right, warm, cool. This is what you get. Do you think we're meant to be okay with that?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Start really writing it down. Just have that I think I showed you, Eric and Kate, last week, that that little booklet that I have where I just keep, I kept all of my experiments, and you know, you can go back and just say, actually, I really love that color. What did I mix it with? And then you just recreate it. So yeah,
I think this part of the exercise will be really helpful.
Yeah.
And that's why I've just made a lot of mud so far.
I do that all the time. Bye.
I've just done all my blues with the Naphthol red, and they just don't go. So now I need a different red. Well, now I'm going to go to my next red.
See what happens when you mix your magenta, and then
yes,
you
and I'll make a nice purple.
Yeah, you get a nice purple. But I think it's a good way to see it, like that progression. You see
the gradient,
the range of colors that, you know, I think I went a little bit wild there and just added tiny bits. Don't have to do that, but you just have, you know, a real good feeling when you're comparing them to each other. Oh, this color actually, I can get a pretty similar palette with these two different reds and these two different blues. And sometimes, you know, that would happen. So, you know, you can see what your colors are giving you rather than guess all the time. You have that is your reference. And now you know exactly, okay, if I want to mix these greens, this is what I'm going to do. That'll be fun when you get to do your greens. See, you know, how they come up. I mean, I find my greens really lovely. It's like, oh, I haven't done that for a while. And like even cerulean blue is not a color that I ever use at all. But I just absolutely like, I love it. I mean, look at that. It's so cool. I mean, do you sort of get those ocean green, or it's like an ocean greenish blue? It's just so pretty. I think,
you're right. I really like how you can use two same colors. Like you can use the same two colors, but just get completely different. Sorry, you can mix the same, like you can mix the cerulean blue with the Windsor lemon, but you can get so many different colors from that mix. I just think it's so cool.
And yes, and you wouldn't have
thought. And it just depends how much blue or how much yellow you put in. Yeah. And I think that's really cool.
Well, I love this. Yeah, and I don't think I wrote it down and I said to you guys, but what I love about that exercise is that it's not just about the mid-range that you can get, but look how your red looks with a tiny bit of yellow. So it's a different red and it's not necessarily an orange. And what your yellow looks like with a tiny little bit of red or with a tiny little bit of green, how you just turn that into a whole new color that you didn't even think of doing, because you might mix half yellow, half green, and you get something in the middle. But it's just little steps that can take your color to a whole new different thing. And I don't know I don't think I'm explaining myself very well, but what I'm trying to say is, like, I love this yellow as much as I love this green. So it's not just about the green that I can mix, but it's about where can I bring this yellow to a different, you know, if I wanted to make it duller and darker, I don't just can add black, I can add something else and I get a really beautiful color. And the same with the blue. You just add a tiny bit of yellow and look how beautiful the blues that you get. And they're not green, they're still blue. And that's not green, that's still yellow. But it's just tiny, it's just different. It's a new color, you get a new color. And that's what I love about that, you know. But look, I didn't know this week was going to be massive, because that understanding of the theory, like I can say, you can understand the theory, but really, 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 you have to put in the hours to get the paint mixed, to really grasp what is cool and what is warm. And you will do it in comparison to your own paints. So with whatever that you have, you will have a warmer version and a cooler version. So it's just keeping on doing as much as you can until, you know, I don't get bored of doing these things. So I don't know if you get bored of doing that.
I run out of palettes. I run out of room. So I gotta wait for it to dry.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, you can grab a
It's the first time I've ever used acrylics. I was just giving it a try. I used to use oils a lot.
like
when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's so much, I don't know, acrylics are dry. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, or if I'm just a pig. But my palette just dries. Like, I can't even clean it. So, whereas I like how oils, you just like clean it. It's really easy.
You can clean it quickly. Yes, I struggle with acrylics because
the smell. Yes, or like when you mix a color that you really like, but you haven't put enough paint, so it dries really quickly. That gives me the irrit. Like, I know you can buy things I think you can buy stuff to make them not dry as fast, but that's like the positive of an acrylic, is that dries fast, but it's also a con, I think, too. But it's the smell with oils that, I don't know, I just feel like I smell like turps. And I've got a baby, so it's like I try not to smell.
Yeah. You can use solvent that is doesn't break in the environment, like mineral spirits do. And mineral spirits are, they're atrocious, they're horrible. I wouldn't have those at home. But there's an odorless, and Gamblin do it. It's called Gamsol. I don't know if other brands do it, but from what I found, they're the ones that whatever particles they are of, you know, the chemical, it doesn't really break in the air where you're breathing. It's just a different breaking process. So you just use it to sort of quickly clean your brush. It doesn't dry as quickly as the mineral spirits would do, but I've been using it, and you know, still have to ventilate. But that's it. But with acrylics, what some people have done, and it might work, is to get, you know, those oh gosh, what they call, not terry towels, but they are microfiber. You know, towels that you use for cleaning the benches in the kitchen. You know, the smart. If you wet it and you put it underneath in your container, and then you put your palette, paper palette on top, that helps apparently to keep the acrylics from drying too quickly. So maybe have a go and see if that works. So I think, so wet the microfiber, put it in your container, and then put the palette on top. And
I think this is plastic. Yeah, this one's plastic.
Yeah.
But I do have a one.
Yeah, put it on top of that.
To absorb?
Yeah, I think put it on top of that, but then put you might need to buy the paper pads for like
Yeah.
paper pads. Yeah, for it to work.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yes.
I use baking paper, like when I did that Zoe Young class that was
Yeah.
acrylics, and I did that trick, and I put baking paper because I didn't have any paper palettes, and it worked. I mean, it still dried quite quickly, but it helped not dry as quickly as it usually used to do. So yeah, there you go. Maybe
So it
try
dries
it
quickly for everyone then, not just me.
Oh no, yes. And I think you have to put like a lot of paint for it to not dry so quickly, but still the top,
Yes.
you know, will get filmy.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yes, it does dry quite quick.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, Shani, if you ever record the quantities of your, you know, your mixes, like how much, you know, yellow you're mixing with red. Do you ever write that down or not? You know, like if you're saying, okay, well, there's I don't know how to do this.
Like one part to one. or
1:1
2,
ratio or
something.
1:3, or I've never been very good with the fractions. Actually, my kids try to teach me and I still do not know how to do it. But
Do a ratio.
no ratio. Not really, but I would say maybe like, oh, I just sort of mix equal parts, like 1:1, equal parts of these, and I get that. But I usually would just go, I just added a tiny bit of this plus a tiny bit of white, or plus white. And then when I start adding the paint, I don't go and add a lot of something. You know, especially when you're practicing, just add tiny little bits until you get to the color that you want, because then you won't know. You know, it's less to think about, oh, I mix equal parts of this and this. You just know that by adding something, that's where you're getting, you can always add more. And then if you add too much, then you add more of something else. Like you go back and say, if you had a blue and you're adding yellow and you add way too much yellow, well, just add a little bit more blue or go back.
Yes.
So if it works for you to say, I'm starting with this much yellow and this much blue, yes, absolutely write it down. It's whatever works for you.
Sometimes I mix the colors and I know the combinations and even, you know, doing a chart sort of thing. But I have awful trouble going back to create, especially like you said, Erica, with acrylics going dry so quickly.
Yes.
And going back to recreate it. Sometimes it's never quite exactly the same, but maybe I haven't enough swatches like you have done where you've really sort of covering that whole range.
Yeah. It is very hard to mix exactly the same color that you mixed before. I mean, you might definitely, but it's like we're humans, and we can mix as closely as our eyes can see. Like our eye will see this and will think, oh, this is really good enough. But it may not be exactly the same, but it doesn't matter. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking to get close to that. If you know that you mix these two colors to get to that, you will just do that exercise until you get it eventually, you know. And then again, you know, if I had to say, if I leave a painting halfway and I don't quite get in the flow of adding little bits of red to my yellow and or whatever it is, then at some point I lose that flow. And when I go back and I try to recreate it, I will add either too much yellow or too much, especially if you mix three colors, too much white, too much yellow, too much red. And I will never get it. Never.
Yeah.
Like 3 colors it's just going to be impossible. I will get close, like really, really close. I'm being really pedantic, but it's just really hard to get back to that. But if you have the two colors and just, little by little add them, you will get to something that is super close to that. But at least you know where to start from.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's why, yes, always say, I got this color by mixing this and that.
Yeah. Okay. That's
I'm
great.
going to check them. You have to send them to me. I'm going to say, Erin, did you write your color combinations?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to concentrate on this week, doing all those swatches.
Yeah, do that. I mean, please send me anything,
Yes.
all the exercises, because I love to have a look and just guide you to say, well, you're going in the right direction. But I love to ask you questions as well, because I don't want to tell you this is this and this is that. It's nice for you. I can say those things, but I think I'll slow down your awareness not progress, but you know what I mean? Like, I want you to eventually for it to click. And if you sit down and say even 10 minutes a day, just play with it. Even if you just don't think, is this cool? Is this warm? Just play with it. And then at the end of the week, you can sit down and look at it and think, okay, I wonder, and start then looking at it from the distance, just if you can get it. But sometimes the more you're trying to get something, the harder it'll be. But the more work you can put into it, then the easier it will become eventually. Okay, I know, because this happens to, everyone, unless you're, amazing at seeing colors straight away. Some people surely do, but we all struggle to get there. But you can get there. It happens. It needs, that process of painting and looking and questioning, analyzing and asking questions. I wonder, and if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. But, if you say, oh, is this blue warm or cool? Well, I'm not sure. Okay, I know what to mix it with to probably answer that question. And so you go and mix it. And then you answer in your own questions. And then things are sinking in your head. And then, not too long from now, you're going to be able to do your paintings and you're not going to even think about it. You just
can't wait. Yes.
But yes, start with some few colors, stick to those, forget about, all the others for the time being until you get to a few other, module 3 or whatever, and you've experimented with all your primaries, and then add maybe some primaries that are really way off, like really dark reds or really, different tubes that you may have. But yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do this exercise.
That's looking good. Yeah, that's looking good.
I'm getting a purple now.
Yeah,
That I've
go.
the red through. I haven't written on them, but
start asking yourself the questions and just say there, well, I'm getting brown with this red, so either the blue is cool or the red is warm.
So this light blue, look at this. I just made.
Well, actually, the blue can be cool. Sorry, it's just that the red has to be cool. What is it?
Cool.
Yeah, you can get purples with it.
Bright purple.
Say that again.
This is a very bright purple. This one, when I use
the
magenta,
look at that. Yeah,
with that. Oh, it's a very light blue, but it makes a very nice purple.
It probably depends more on your red being a cooler red rather than your blue being a cool blue, because your red has the blue pigment in it. Even though it doesn't have it, it leans towards blue.
Yeah.
You have more blue in your cool blue then you have yellow. So you still get the purple, but in essence, when you think about the truer purple, would have to be the one with the ultramarine because it doesn't have the yellow in it. So
Right.
why it's mixed in the purple, I can see why it's mixed in the purple. It's different in terms of which one is brighter. I can see that the one with the magenta, it does look like a really lovely, beautiful purple. Okay. Well, I'll let you go and keep playing. And
Yeah, thank you.
okay, thank you, Erica.
Thank you for tonight.
No worries, thank you.
Bye.